Hi, everybody, and welcome today. My name's Dr. Andy Hooton, and I'm Head of School of Sport and Exercise Science. Thank you for joining us for this session where we're just going to go over the options for postgraduate study in sport and exercise science at the University of Derby. So joining me today, we've got Dr. Charlotte Chandler, who is our postgraduate program coordinator. We've got Dr. Minas Minna, who is a lecturer in biomechanics. We've got Dr. Francesco Ferraro, a lecturer in sport therapy and rehabilitation. We've got Jordan Butler, who is our performance sports manager, and Siobhan Hines, who's our international recruitment lead. So we're just going to spend a little time going over the provision within the School of Sport and Exercise Science and give you an insight in terms of the different courses, some key kind of pointers for international students at the University of Derby, some opportunities around sport and playing sport, and indeed performance sport and sport scholarships at the University of Derby, and also an experience of one of our academics have been an international student in the UK, and then subsequently working in the UK as well. And then we'll finish off with an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you may have in relation to the programs or any of the content we've covered today. So there's a Q&A kind of opportunity where you can type in your questions as we're going along, and we'll then answer them at the end of the presentation. So just to give an overview of the School of Sport and Exercise Science, we have a range of undergraduate programs, 9 in total, that feed through to 2 postgraduate programs at the moment, which are MSc Applied Sport and Exercise Science and MSc Clinical Exercise Science. It's an excellent kind of academic community to join, with very strong research and very strong industry links. So a couple of the key things that we're going to highlight today are the relationships we have with industry, so external organizations that we work with that contribute to our postgraduate provision, and also give you an idea of how sport and exercise science has moved over the last 10 to 15 years beyond that of something that is just related to performance sport, so elite level performance sport and or participation. It's now very much also within health and well-being, and therefore there are career opportunities across all those aspects as well. So it'll give us an opportunity to see what opportunities might be out there following your degree. So I'll hand over to Siobhan now, who is our international recruitment lead, who will just take you through a few bits associated with being an international student at the University of Derby.
Thanks, Andy. So here at the University of Derby in 2023, we were awarded TEF Gold. We have over 100,000 alumni around the world making a real difference, and it's great for us to see where they've gone on to and what they've gone on to do. Our halls of residence as well have been voted the best for moving in housing experience, and also we are carrying out innovative research that is having a real world impact. Next slide, please. So where is Derby? Derby is in the centre of England, which is great because we're an industrial powerhouse, which is great for international and national businesses. Whilst Derby is small, it is a very welcoming city, and we have the countryside on our doorstep. So we do have an airport nearby, which you are able to fly into from various countries. As you can see there, Italy and Poland fly into the East Midlands. However, close by, we do have Birmingham and London, which do more long-range international flights. With regard to trains, you can get to London or Manchester in around 90 minutes, and Birmingham in 30 minutes, and Sheffield in 30 minutes. So we are close to really other big cities. Next slide, please. So the city of Derby, it is one of the most affordable cities in the UK, which we realise is very important to our local students and our international students. And also we were awarded the Purple Flag status as a city, and that is being a city that is safe for residents, international and national, just a safe city. We've got great transport links, whether that's to other cities or between the campuses or to different halls. And also we offer a free transport service from London Heathrow, Birmingham Airport and Manchester, and that's in collaboration with the coach company National Express. Thank you. I'm now going to hand over to Charlotte.
Thank you. So just to take you through the 2 MSc courses that we offer at the University of Derby, you can see there we have the MSc Applied Sport and Exercise Science, which has been running for several years now, and our MSc Clinical Exercise Science, which we started last September 2023. There are options for students to study at certificate, diploma or full MSc level, depending on the number of credits they take. Typically, most of the students that enrol on the programmes do the full MSc though. So if I just take you through what each of the courses is about, so we could have the next slide, please. So firstly, the MSc Applied Sport and Exercise Science then. So this is our course that's been designed to support students to work towards applied practice, either within sport and performance settings. Equally, they may go on to work in more sort of health, exercise, behaviour change type settings as well. So we have quite a broad programme in terms of the range of interest students will come with and the sort of modules they'll choose to study. And one of the really great things with this programme is that students can pick their 3 optional modules, and that gives them quite a degree of flexibility to tailor the programme to their interests. We also have a substantial placement requirement in terms of one of the modules, and that's really great for students because, of course, getting that real world experience, being able to apply their knowledge, being able to apply what they're learning on their modules is really beneficial for their development. So Andy mentioned the sort of links and contacts that we have external to the university, and we really make sure that students can benefit from those in terms of their placement experience as well. So we do have, and I'll talk through the modules in just a second, but we do have the general programme, but we also have a psychology pathway on this course. This has been developed in line with industry requirements with regards to what BASES, so the British Association of Sport and Exercise Science, what they've asked for in terms of their sport and exercise psychology graduates. So we've developed that programme and that pathway with that criteria in mind. So if I could have the next slide, please. So these are the modules that students can study on the MSc Applied Sport and Exercise Science. So you can see there that there are 3 core modules, and then students will select 3 optional modules as well. So the core modules are independent research for sport and exercise. That's their dissertation module, where students will undertake a research project of their choosing in an area of their interest. Practitioner development in applied sport and exercise science is our placement module. So it's a combination of taught in-class content, but also those placement hours that we expect students to engage with, and an advanced research methods module, which is essentially the module that gets students sort of prepared for that dissertation project and helps to further develop their research skills. Now, students will select 3 modules. You can see the options on the right-hand side of the screen there. So we have modules spanning pretty much every discipline within sport and exercise science, from psychology to physiology, performance analysis, strength and conditioning. And like I said earlier, that gives students the flexibility to sort of focus mainly on one discipline or to select from a variety of disciplines that are complementary to each other. The negotiated module in science is another really useful module for students because, as the name suggests, it allows them to negotiate what they want the focus of that module to be. So they work with a supervisor and create sort of a piece of work that aligns really specifically to something that they're interested in. The students on the psychology pathway, I guess they technically don't have any options because they do have to study the 3 psychology modules. That's what makes up that pathway. That's what the content is what allowed us to seek and achieve BASES endorsement for that pathway. So they'll study 2 psychology modules that are open to the rest of the students on the programme, but there is one bespoke psychology module for those students as well. And the dissertation and the placement for those students have to be psychology focused. Okay. So our second MSc programme, which, like I said, started last September, is the MSc Clinical Exercise Science, and we developed that as a result of sort of recognising that, yes, whilst we have a really strong sort of performance and exercise focused programme, there was also a need to offer students the opportunity to develop along a more clinical route and take what they've learned maybe at undergrad to move in that sort of direction with regards to clinical and health related roles. So this programme is very much focused on that idea of health and well-being, being prepared to go into sort of more clinically focused settings within their careers. There was 3 areas that we cover in terms of the modules on the programme. So those are rehabilitation and training, physical activity and health, and clinical exercise physiology. Similar to the other MSc, students have a significant sort of placement component as part of that programme. So we are supporting students to go out and get that real world experience in clinical settings and develop their applied skills within those. And again, they will be conducting a research project in an area of choosing. Again, that will be aligned to something that's of interest to them within clinical exercise science, and often sort of aligned to one of those 3 key areas that we teach within the programme. So at the moment, we don't have any optional modules on the programme. All students will study all of the modules that you can see on the screen. You can see there that the independent research for sport and exercise and the advanced research methods modules are ones that I've already mentioned on the other programme. So those sit across all of our master's provision. And that's really beneficial in terms of obviously students from different backgrounds with different interests all interacting and being able to share their sort of ideas and their interests and progress together through their respective programme. The professional practice in clinical exercise science is the placement module for this programme. So although it is distinct from the other programme, there is some shared talk content, which again is really useful for students in sharing their ideas and experiences. And then the 3 optional modules, well, not optional, sorry, the 3 modules that are 20 credit modules that exist in sort of addition to those core modules and the focus on research and research methods and placement aligned to those 3 areas that I've already mentioned. So we've got a global physical activity and public health module, an advanced clinical exercise physiology module, and a clinical exercise rehabilitation and training module on this programme. So regardless of the programme that a student studies, so regardless of which of those 2 MScs the student's on, they will be taught by a range of academics. So we've got a really strong team in terms of the background and the research experience, the applied experience that they bring into their teaching, and obviously students will benefit from that. Our teaching approach is sort of a mixture of, I guess, the quite traditional in terms of lectures and seminars, but equally there's a lot of practical teaching on our programmes. It's really important that students are able to not just obviously engage with theory and talk content, but they're also able to develop their practical skills. They're able to be in lab settings. They're able to develop understanding of how they would then go and work with clients and apply that knowledge as well. We encourage a lot of discussion within our teaching as well, so that it's not just sort of, again, students sort of receiving information. They're also encouraged to engage with each other and with the staff as well, so that they're bringing their ideas and I guess there's a real focus on not just developing themselves as a professional, but also as an individual as well. And we do that through the way that we teach and engage them in those sessions. Assessment is also really varied. So there's a mixture of written assessments, presentation assessments, practical assessments. We try and make those assessments as sort of, I guess, as replicable of real life as possible, so students are engaging in experiences that they would be employing sort of outside, again, when working with clients. So whether that's sort of a needs analysis of a sports team or running a laboratory test, it's quite varied, and we do receive really good sort of external examiner feedback around the variety and the applicability of those assessments for students and their learning. the one other sort of key assessment is around their dissertation, so that's a large written piece in the form of their writing up their research, and there is also a Viva component where there's essentially an oral defence of that research as well, so they get the opportunity to discuss the work that they've done. Okay, next slide, please. So I've already mentioned, but one of the things we're really proud of is that we do have a strong emphasis not just on professional development and sort of that theoretical learning, but also the personal development in terms of students understanding who they are and what they can bring to their practice once they move forward into their career. We've got a really strong community sense within our MSc cohort as well. So across the two programmes with the shared teaching, there's a really good sense of sort of sharing of ideas and interests, and we're going from strength to strength in terms of being able to grow that provision as well. The students who come onto the programmes, they're going to be equipped to work in quite a variety of applied practice settings. So we've had people go and continue to work in professional sort of performance sport. We've had people go into community and health sectors. We've had people move into more clinical areas as well. And I'm just going to jump ahead to that bottom point because we also have a lot of students who maintain sort of their involvement in terms of being in study and continue to do a PhD or a professional doctorate. So they move on to that doctoral level study as well. In terms of moving into applied practice, some students will choose to pursue further sort of applied training to be able to be a practitioner. So, for example, that might be with BASES, like so our sort of governing body that I've already mentioned, to endorse that psychology pathway. So that sets students up really nicely to be able to pursue training with them. And our clinical exercise science programme, although not CEP accredited, the content sort of nicely aligned in terms of whether if a student wanted to move on and pursue potential training with them in the future and go along that sort of clinical route as well. So we do everything we can to ensure that students are sort of prepared to leave us, to graduate and move into employment, move on to further study, but also recognise where they're able to train and achieve accreditation in a given area as well. Okay, so just to finish up then, so a couple of I've mentioned sort of the different areas that that students might move into, but we have got a lot of alumni who are working in sort of sport scientist roles, whether that's as a psychologist or an S&C coach. It's quite varied. We have some students working within sort of NHS in more health and wellbeing roles as well. And although this is the first year of our clinical exercise science programme, so we don't currently have any graduates from that programme, but we do envisage them being able to go into sort of either public or private sort of organisations and work in a variety of clinical roles. So that might be within hospital settings, it might be more sort of community level. But again, we know that they're sort of well equipped to take their theoretical knowledge, but also put that into practice when working with clients. Okay. And just to finish up, like I said, we're really proud of how we've developed the content of our programmes and how we've developed our postgraduate community. And I think hopefully these numbers kind of speak for themselves in terms of how much students enjoy being on our programme. So although this was from the MSc Applied Sport and Exercise Science specifically, obviously the aim is to continue to ensure students are really happy with their provision across both of those programmes. Last year we achieved 100% satisfaction in terms of the overall quality of our MSc course. We also achieved that in the 2 years prior as well. So we have got a good reputation for students coming to study postgraduate level with us and really enjoying and appreciating their time with us as well. So I'm gonna end on that note.
That's great. Thanks, Charlotte. So just a couple of slides from me to support kind of what Charlotte said in relation to the programmes and the specifics associated with them. So this just gives you a little bit of an insight in terms of certain aspects that facilitate our provision. So firstly, our facilities. They have enabled us to teach and assess in a certain way. So Charlotte mentioned the notion of kind of career focused, industry focused assessment and teaching, and we have fantastic facilities available to us that will facilitate high-end research, but also our teaching and assessment to ensure that it's aligned as closely as possible to industry. And when we're saying industry engaged as a university, what we're trying to get you to think about is not necessarily thinking about your MSc as like the conclusion of your studies, but rather more so the start of your career. So you will be operating in a manner which will be akin to industry, engaging in placements with industry, and then been assessed in a way that relates to industry as well. And that's really important for preparing you for your kind of job role and applications subsequent to the program. Another bit is our human performance unit. So this is the commercial arm of our school. It's led by Dr. Tom Outram, who's a senior lecturer in biomechanics. But essentially, this is very much a student-led provision. So we engage with a variety of commercial customers, so paying customers who are either external individuals, athletes, teams, or organizations. So to give you some examples, at the moment, our physiological testing, so any cyclists, runners or triathletes who come in for physiological testing, the testing is led by Ellie Tennant, who is a current MSc student. She went through a period of observing previous physiological testing leads last year, and now kind of leads the testing and has other students observing her within the testing so that it ensures their readiness as well. So again, you get the responsibility of meeting and greeting the clients, taking them through their protocols, and kind of giving the feedback associated with their outcomes as well. We also engage with a number of teams. So Burton Albion Football Club, Derbyshire County Cricket come down and do their pre-season testing with us as well. And we also run research with some of those organizations as well. So it provides plenty of opportunities for students to be able to get involved in the actual kind of testing offered by the Human Performance Unit. So it's a fantastic opportunity to kind of ensure that you are advancing your, I guess, professional skills whilst also undertaking your MSc studies. And then to move on to research, and I know in a minute Francesco will give you a bit of an insight in terms of his journey and his research that's led him to where he is. And there is fantastic research that goes on across the academic department, and I know Minas and Charlotte are engaged in some excellent research who are also with us today. This research very much spans performance sport and health and well-being. And I'll give you an example of one researcher and tell you a little story quickly, just to show how one area of focus and maybe even one kind of tool within research can span across a number of different areas. So we have Professor Mark Fahy at the university within the School of Sport and Exercise Science. So Mark was a PhD student within the department, and his original research was looking at a tool called the Power Breathe. So essentially something that works on enabling lung function. He originally looked at that with regard to the armed forces. So he would have people on treadmills mimicking the long hikes or runs that the armed forces would go on, carrying heavy loads, so maybe 20, 30 kilos carrying, and he would be using the Power Breathe tool as a way of kind of both enhancing performance, but also trying to reduce injury occurrence as well. So subsequent to that, he then took that same kind of tool, and I guess the Power Breathe is, it can be thought of as like a dumbbell for your lungs, I guess, if that makes sense. He then took that tool and utilized it with an elite cyclist. So Lee Timmis is a long distance cyclist who has completed a number of world record attempts. So Lee was supported by Mark and a number of other colleagues. So Mark was kind of working on the physiological aspects. We had nutrition support, sports psychology support, a variety of different aspects supporting Lee. He attempted to cycle from one end of Europe to the other end of Europe. So from one end of Portugal to the other end of Russia. and the record at the time was 24.5 days, and with the support that was provided, and obviously Lee's excellent elite level cyclist, he managed to break the world record by roughly 8 days and set a new record of 16.5 days for crossing from one end of Europe to the other, which is a pretty great achievement, and I guess something that obviously Mark contributed heavily towards in terms of his physiological preparation. Now, that obviously evidences how it can be utilized within elite level sport, but Mark then took the same tool in terms of the Power Breathe, and then he would, subsequent to that, was working out of hospitals around Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire, so located near to the university, working with pneumonia patients and assisting them in terms of their recovery. So it's, I guess, a fantastic kind of example of how research and specific kind of, research tools within sport and exercise science can be utilized to be not only facilitate performance sport, but also facilitate health and well-being outcomes. And then obviously more recently we have had our global pandemic in COVID, and now a lot of Mark's respiratory physiology is focused around long COVID, and he's recently secured large-scale funding associated with that, which is running out of our university and kind of clinical classroom environments that are utilized to be able to facilitate that research as well. So it gives a good example about how there is a great level of breadth associated with sport and exercise science now, and also therefore the career outcomes are very much kind of open in relation to that too. So I'll now hand over to Francesco, who's just going to give you a little bit of an insight in terms of his experience as an international student and then subsequently international academic.
Thank you, Andy. That was great. So hello everyone, my name is Francesco, and here you have on those slides a bit of my kind of bio or adventure, I'll say, in the UK. So of course, as you can probably guess from my accent, I'm Italian. I come from Napoli, the south of Italy, and initially I started and completed my journey to higher education in 2 universities in Italy, the Foro Italico, University of Partenope in Rome, and Naples. But then subsequently I decided to take the chance and go and study in the UK, where I did my PhD in physiology, in respiratory physiology, at the University of Bournemouth. After that, so as a sort of a consequence of coming to the UK again, explore all these new opportunities that came along, I work in hospitals for a couple of years, and as you can guess from my background, you can see on the slide, I come from a sports science perspective, a sports science degree, and as we know, as it is for the majority of the countries in Europe, it's very difficult for sports scientists to work in hospitals. In the UK, as Andy also was mentioning, it's a bit more diverse and you get more chances to explore different opportunities. So in my case, after the PhD degree, as I mentioned, I've been in this hospital for a couple of years. And then, of course, COVID hit, so it was not possible to carry on what I was doing in the hospital, which was a trial manager. So I was in charge of clinical trials in Nuffield Health, which is the name of the hospital. And well, after that, I then applied for a position in higher education, which is what I'm doing now. I'm a lecturer in sport therapy and rehabilitation. But I've never stopped studying, and even if I'm currently working full-time, I'm also doing another master, but at the University of Liverpool in artificial intelligence. Well, the reason for someone who comes from Europe to come to the UK, in my opinion, I haven't done this route, and I've been in the UK for, well, since 2016, 2017, is that it opened up a lot of opportunities and doors. First of all, one of the things that we know, it's very important for people that work in academia and do research, is that we need to write and speak English properly, because that's the language of research. So it's extremely important if you come to England, that's the best place to learn it and best place to understand it. Then secondly, another aspect which I think is extremely important to kind of travel around and explore is that if you always do something that you have done, you will never grow, you will never improve in what you are good at. And that's kind of what I did. I was working initially in gyms with my sport and exercise science background, but that wasn't not enough for me. I needed to explore something different. I needed to learn something more, and that's why I decided to travel across from the south of Italy to the UK. I'll say again, it's an excellent opportunity. You have a lot of chances as well to work not only in the UK but with a lot of colleagues across the world. In the past year, I've been working with colleagues from Pakistan, from China, from Spain, and of course from Italy as well. So again, from my perspective, for someone that has done it, I have to say that it is fantastic, and it's an opportunity that if you have the chance to do it, definitely you should do it. Thank you, and I'll pass on to the team.
Hello guys, yeah, so I'm just going to jump in and talk to you a little bit about kind of the extracurricular activities that you can take part in, and one of the many opportunities that you've got is to represent the university and a sporting front. So we have over 30 sports clubs that span from archery, badminton, football, volleyball, table tennis, squash, across a wide range of different sports. So we have the opportunity, you have the opportunity as a student when you arrive to either take part in an existing sport that you're already good at, or you can start and try something completely new. We have programs that are designed to get students physically active and continue to be physically active when they come to the university, or likewise to get people back into being physically active if they have had a time or period where they've not been doing any activity. So they cover a wide range of different events throughout the year, whether that's inclusivity events, whether that's specific gender-specific events, or whether that's kind of cross communities with different communities across the university. We also have performance sports as well at the University of Derby. So we have performance sports that span over badminton, volleyball, cycling, swimming, and football. And they are really designed where you've got a head coach that's in place, and they are there to support you as an athlete and your development. And then we also give you all of the sports science support. So as Charlotte mentioned that you would learn on your MSc, we have students and applied practitioners that are working in that space with our students that enable us to be able to kind of maximize our performance athletes and our scholars that are on our program. And that kind of leads me on to the point that there is also sports scholarships available, and these are open to international students as well. And you can apply for these online once you've had an offer made to you by the University of Derby based on your application to the course. And they kind of cover discounts on your fees. They also include all the support that you can get from the performance sport program. So access to a physiotherapy, access to the strength and conditioning suite, access to performance support workshops, academic flexibility and support in terms of planning and scheduling, and also then kind of careers and next steps. So like Francesco said, in terms of we would support you at the back end of your masters to kind of look and plan at how you take the next steps into either a career or pursuing your athletic career as well, if you're an elite athlete or high aspiring athlete. I'll pass you back on to Andy, who I think is going to wrap up the presentation.
Thanks, Jordan. And I know this is just a bit of a excerpt from one of the kind of current scholars at the university, just to give you an idea of some of the kind of, I guess, links and opportunities that you have when you're a sports scholar as well, but also I guess some reference to the supportive aspect of their journey on their actual academic studies as well, which is really, really positive to see. So lastly, and we just want to finish up, give you an opportunity if you've got any questions you want to ask. So it's I guess some key points detailed there on the slides, but I suppose one of the main things that I'd point out, in addition to what we've said so far, is also kind of the academic team that you'll be exposed to, as well as been either engaged in applied work and or high-level research. There's also a fantastically supportive team that will be there to guide you through, you know, both your academic studies and also your transition to studying in a different country as well. So we have a really supportive group of staff, and that is then reflected in the outcomes that we achieve in terms of our student satisfaction surveys, and also the outcomes that our students achieve in terms of their degree and then their subsequent career as well. So with that, I'll just kind of thank you for your time today. There are details here about the next steps if you wish to apply to the university. So you can see all the courses on the web page. So if you just visit the University of Derby, type in the course that your program that you're interested in, it'll give you all the details around entry requirements, fees. You can apply directly to the university from that web page, or international students can also apply via an agent as well. And obviously be aware that you'll need to submit your accompanying documents with your application to evidence current and or potential qualifications, and various other aspects that the application process asks for. And then we've got an email there for international@derby.ac.uk, and I know that Jessica has just posted in all of our contact details, so all the email addresses of the presenters that you've seen today, and a couple of links there in terms of the programs, and also information for international students as well. So thank you very much for your time,